We are from different political parties. NRM will field their candidates, we will field ours. And as far as Lira City is concerned, we have already picked our candidate. In that, the candidate for the woman is Betty, who is unopposed in the UPC primaries. So we're going to fight for that seat. And that is part of the democracy.
Can you be a little bit clearer? Who is Betty?
Betty Amongi Akena is going to be contesting for Lira City on the UPC ticket.
All right.
Acheng Ruth is contesting on the NRM ticket. So different
and
political
both of
parties.
them were unopposed in their parties.
So they're going to battle it. Now, this issue of going for elections, I've gone for elections. People say I'm in bed with NRM. Every year I've contested against an NRM candidate. I've never gone into parliament without an NRM fielding a candidate. Now I'm going for their chairman also. They should also treat me with the same respect. I have dealt with their people who they've sent to me. I have campaigned with decorum, and we've ended the campaign. So now I'm going to campaign against their chairman. Although
maybe you've never explained well why one of your biggest party members is serving within cabinet. That's an issue there. People are wondering.
I believe you're a football fan.
I am.
Now, recently we've had I'm a Man U supporter, by the way. We've lent some players from time to time. I think Rashford was recently on loan.
On loan.
Yes. So you can lend a player on loan, but the player still remains part of your team.
Oh.
And when we're going through these issues, and also for me, I look at things on two levels. When the election is over, the election is over. Now it is Uganda. When you've reached parliament, from my point of view, you are serving Uganda. Whatever reasonable thing comes from the other side, you listen to. Whatever reasonable thing comes from your side, you listen to. You should be able to separate that issue and do the best for Uganda. At least that is as far as my policy is concerned. I'm not going to be opposing for the sake of opposing. I will oppose for the benefit of the citizens. Now, some of the issues which we touched on earlier, I am not fighting Dr. Jane on the floor of parliament on the issue of hospitals because I want to fight Dr. Jane. I am fighting this because there are Ugandan children who are being born in substandard facilities. If it has taken you 15 years to rehabilitate this theater, or you have failed to rehabilitate this, kids are being born on the floors. If you see some of the places where now, it's for those kids that we must be frank. Where NRM has failed, I will put it out. Where if it's the docket of whoever it is, we will put it out. So like what happened on the floor of parliament, they were trying to say that this is part of the issue of parliament. No, the issue is decided in cabinet. So if it is sorted out in cabinet, when it comes to parliament, essentially we've been passing loans. They only really want us for loans. When we trickled with the budget, the president sent it back, told us we cannot remove one iota or change anything. It must be passed as it is presented. But it's only loans. Now, even loans, we have been, the last loan we passed when we were proroguing parliament, no report, nothing, all rules suspended, and the loan just arrives and passes on the same day. And in prorogue parliament, there's no way you go through those processes. So parliament, in some ways, has been misused, abused, but that doesn't mean we stop here. We must still work towards the Uganda we want, and we're definitely going to do that one. As UPC, we've got a lot of items which we're going to present. There's history which I can correct, which I intend to do as we head into 2026.
On that particular point.
An election brings a lot of issues in the forefront. The acceptability of candidates, the personal touch, the ability of marketing that candidate, but there are also issues which underpin. Now, from my point of view, our intention has been to bring about a serious policy debate on the future of Uganda in the 2026 election, so that we can seriously discuss what we're doing, how we hope to achieve certain objectives, and who is being involved or left out in the whole discussion. So expect from Congress a very strong policy platform which may challenge a lot of the thinking or the thoughts of how things have been running. But it is something to really try to define where Uganda should be, how we should handle our matters, and I really hope that that is going to be how we're going to handle the politics. But obviously, as you come to elections, a lot of things happen. There are strange things which take place, but that is normally the election season. It comes with a lot of other things, but as UPC, we're prepared to put forward a serious policy debate for the future of Uganda.
Now, let's hear what are the promises that UPC brings to the people of Uganda, because you were once in charge, but it seems with time your fortunes fell apart here and there, and from what I've been hearing you say, you are on a revival path, and you're promising that in the next elections it's going to be a huge surprise for very many people when it comes to UPC. Why do you think Ugandans will actually follow you?
No, okay, I'll give you one example. Yesterday, on the floor of Parliament, there was a report from the Government Assurance Committee, which was dealing with mainly the health sector, and on some of the promises, the ICUs, which are supposed to be set up, the beds, and all the general report around that one. And I raised the matter to contrast, because a lot of accusations against UPC centered around 1966. So I brought out the issue of the second 5-year development plan, which was 66 to 71. And I love bringing that program, because you have something where there's a declaration that this is what we're going to do. And now you have hindsight to see, was it achieved? So in the area of health, that is where UPC boasts about the 24 hospitals. But the 24 hospitals only provided 30% of the beds, which the target was from 66 to 71. And those targets were achieved and exceeded. The intention was to expand the beds available to the citizens of Uganda by 78%. When you look at the records, it achieved 82%. Now, initially, there were supposed to be 21 100-bed hospitals, but in the question of sorting things out, it ended up being 24. Now, Government of Uganda borrowed £6 million, built 24 100-bed hospitals, built county-level medical facilities, and sub-county level ones. They were called the dispensaries and sub-dispensaries then, on 6 million. I've been in this parliament. About 15 years ago, we borrowed $130 million from World Bank to rehabilitate these hospitals. We only managed to do half of those hospitals with $130 million. Last week, they were boasting about Busolwe Hospital, where even there was a claim on UBC, the national broadcaster, that this was built in 1986, which was a complete lie. This is one of the 24 hospitals of the 66 to 71 period. That hospital, they spent $20 million to rehabilitate one hospital. There are still about 10 hospitals of those yet to be rehabilitated. If we're going at $20 million per hospital, how are we going to achieve those targets? You're building the Specialized Heart Institute for $73 million, 250 bed. Now, rehabilitating an existing 100-bed hospital takes $20 million. Something is wrong. Something is not working in this country. Now, those are the sort of issues which I was putting, where I can provide the statistics, the facts, and let's have the debate. And also, the target which is put in the second 5-year development plan was to have 2.5 beds for 1,000 population. That was the target, which needed about 8,250 beds to be added on what was there now. Today, what is the ratio of beds per population? We're less than 1 bed per 1,000 people. I.e., we have declined on those statistics. And if you look at the global statistics, we are not doing where we're supposed to be going. Now, those are the debate I want. I want to tear down these issues. I want to tear the questions of education. I want to tear the questions of agriculture. All of those issues, we're going to break them down and bring it clearly where NRM has failed, where UPC comes from, and how we hope Uganda can work for the citizens of Uganda. So I've just given that as an example, which was occurring in real time, which was, yesterday on the floor of Parliament, and I was able to contribute on that debate.
All right, teacher. Do we actually vote for reasons? And looking at Uganda where we are today, what do you think should be the issues to determine the next election, the outcome of the next election?
Of course, we always set our agenda as a party. For example, our previous agenda was secure the future, but also put in place a manifesto, which we had to look at, and the items that were to be done. Of course, much of it was done, but I must also admit that we have a number of things that are not yet done because of the funding, majorly. He's alluding on the amounts that are being used to either repair or build up. It is true, a lot of money have been put in place, was secured in terms of loans for the repairs, for maintenance. And we must admit in many other areas, we have been going down to the field to do the monitoring. A number of areas, we have had very funny contractors who do either substandard work or in the process of doing that, they don't maintain the job well. In fact, it is only the army in many areas which has done a good job. If you go to Rugazi, they have tried, this Rugazi hospital. They
One
have
of the
tried.
24.
Yes, it is one of the 24. Actually, some of the 24, the Itojo, the Shitagata, those ones. And every other institution lives its own time, and with the time, it must reach a point of repair and maintenance. And this is exactly what we're doing. If we are choosing of not maintaining them or ignoring them, that would be a different issue altogether. But the accusation that is there is that we're using quite a lot of money.
Isn't that a fact? Because most of these hospitals are dilapidated.
Not
There's
all of them.
this one hospital where Dr. Chris Bariomusi was rushed.
The Kambuga.
Kambuga is
for
another one
example.
of the 24.
That's Kambuga, it's one of the 24.
Yeah, and people were
Yeah,
shocked
but
that
that's why we have said
that even the NRM could not care about the people
No,
from the region where the bulk of its leadership actually matters from.
it is not correct to say that the NRM doesn't care. The NRM does.
I'm just saying
why
what people
why
are
do we
saying.
say it does? You know, beyond those hospitals, that infrastructure that was in place, and we don't demean any of those infrastructures because the Obote government at the time did a great job. Let's admit that. In terms of the health sector, in terms of education sector, you know the schools, is a school, Tovere, Nabisunsa, those schools. Normally, most of those schools where you find this kind of buildings that were used by, that used to have, they call them puri something.
The prefabs.
The prefabs. They did a great job. But also, you should give credit where it is due. Our government has also tried, in a number of cases, even to expand some of those, to try and do its best in terms of repairs and maintenance. And you should also consider the population growth. In fact, our target in the apparent situation is not to build the infrastructure as it is, because you'll find infrastructure that could be there even without enough beds, without enough personnel, without enough medicine. Our attention has been more on the preventive area. For example, immunization. We have achieved 100% immunization. And let anybody dispute that. In malaria prevention, you don't only build an institution because you want people to fall sick and go there. No. You can have fewer hospitals. But as long as you have very few people who go there, in those hospitals, that would be the best system. But that's not to say that we don't need them. We need health centers. A number of health centers have been even expanded because these hospitals cannot contain all, considering also the distance and the growth of population. So the planning depends on the circumstances, depends on the situation, depends on the population growth, depends on the available resources at the time. And that is what we're talking about.
So you agree with Honorable Jimmy Akena that the manner in which the health sector is being treated should be one of the key issues.
Yeah, certainly. One of the areas that should be given attention in terms of manifesto. It is health, it is education, it is works and transport, it is agriculture. Those are the principal areas, and everybody should admit the only difference is the approach to it. Honorable Jimmy Akena, when he becomes a candidate, I don't want to say he's a candidate. When he becomes a candidate for presidency, he will put his manifesto, and he will put especially those areas, I believe. But the approach to them may not necessarily be the approach that we're using. Even the other parties will. Literally, every party in this country, every leader in this country has those areas of focus. The only difference is how they approach to those focus and how they try to mobilize the resources for that purpose and how they eventually utilize the resources to make sure that their agenda is fulfilled.
All right. Let's go to Mr. Chemonges. Mr. Chemonges, we want to hear your view, the promises that the political parties make and whether they actually come to pass. Manifestos, promises here and there. But also Ugandans seem not to be interested so much in voting because of these issues. How do we turn this fact around?
So I think maybe the question is about, is our politics issue-based? Is it about the issues that affect the people? I think far from it for me. I think that where we stand today, politics is extremely a high-stake venture, call it that. Partly because of either the benefits that are there or the economic point or the economic packages that are aligned in that area. Maybe looking at it from the specific positions, but I think as a country broadly, we've been recently trying to do a study around why the country, specifically Parliament, has extremely high attrition rate, one of the highest in the region. And our assessment seems to boil down to the promises that the leadership or the leaders offer to the people.
MPs make.
Not necessarily MPs, even the
Political parties.
Political parties, all these in the different position. Of course, MPs are the biggest victims in this, but the kind of promises that they put forth and the ability to deliver on those. And when the electorate come to mark that test, for most of them fall short. The recently released assessment of the NRM manifesto. NRM put their performance, the midterm review, to be over 80%.
84%.
84%. And their calculation is that that performance is calculated both work that has been completed and those that have been initiated. Of course, that is a self-assessment really from their side, and you definitely expect that it has to be that or even much better. But when you go on ground, I think there are a couple of areas that may need to be realigned. Of course, for most of the political parties, they aggregate their vision, what they really want to offer to the country into the manifesto. But to the extent that our politics is not issue-based, because today, I think that for an ordinary citizen, we've been deviated further from looking at the issues to focusing on the individuals, to focusing on the declining state of the democracy and many of those challenges. And so for me, I think that where we are today, there's quite a lot that the citizens are getting shortchanged, but also even the ability to assess the performance of government, because ultimately the issues that the two Jameses are highlighting, there are those critical issues that while the UPC government then did an amazing job, and it is this big thing that the country moved forward, what are we getting today? Because we've had NRM and it has been there for some time. It's definitely true that they have achieved quite a number, but there have also been shortfalls in terms of addressing the real issues. Because as Doctor says, our healthcare system today is extremely bad. Even as Doctor says that we are more into prevention than curative. If you look at our financing, look at our strategy, it is more of reactionary sort of approach in terms of how we finance healthcare. We are still below around 7 to 8% that goes to health. And yet the dynamics today, including what the external support that we receive. So I think that where we are at today, the citizens, of course, ultimately it has to go back to them to ensure that they're able to have that information to hold the leadership accountable.
All right, and of course, Dr. Tweheyo talks about the issue of roads, infrastructure being one of the key issues. And we know what has been happening to the road sector in our country. And this week, President Yoweri Museveni makes this directive about bettering the roads and the funding that is supposed to go there. Roads has been one of the key issues that the NRM has been promising in its manifesto. What do you think went wrong? The Ministry of Works kept on saying they had no money and some projects had actually stalled.
Yeah, that's absolutely. As they say it's true. The question of financing is very important, both on the infrastructure, but also on the question of safety. When we look at, for example, the question of safety, we lose close to around 13 to 14 people every day as we speak, at least for those that are the record that is captured on our roads on a daily basis. If you quantify that into amount and look at what the WHO states, we lose close to around 5% to 7% of our GDP to
Road crashes.
road crashes and the affiliated things. So there's quite a lot that we lose, and it comes again back to the leadership. Unfortunately, the question of road and road infrastructure, road safety, and many of these things have been politicized. Recently, we saw some of the regulations around the speed being put forth by Ministry of Works. Of course, there were concerns from the people in terms of the cost, but the process was quickly hijacked, notwithstanding the challenges that the impunity on our roads looks like. Because again, we lose quite a number of people. And some of these regulations, I think, specifically on speed, it had achieved quite a lot. But looking at it from a broader perspective, the question of financing is definitely key. But also, I think more importantly, is around the question of ensuring that the people are on board when it comes to planning, when it comes to execution of these policies.
All right. Dr. James Dwehero thinks it should be one of the key issues that we should consider seriously as Ugandans when we're going into these elections. I'm sure UPC also had a good record on roads before we lose that particular point.
I want to actually tie it with the previous point because I had not quite concluded. So many of these hospitals which you talk about were put on highways deliberately, that as the country was growing, they were expecting that there's going to be more accidents and the like, so you needed the centers in the place. So you find on all these major highways, he talked about Kawolo, which is Lugazi, you have Bugiri, you have Itojo, you have Kiriandongo, all of these are major highways. So they're supposed to be places where the trauma victims will go. But the concern which I raised in 2011, without any prompting from anywhere, NRM went and said that we're borrowing money from World Bank to rehabilitate these hospitals. They came with their own BOQs and they asked for the money. In Parliament, I was one of those who debated and passed it, but I was really concerned about the costs. Now, after you've asked for this amount of money to rehabilitate 24 hospitals, then you manage roughly half. I think that is a performance issue. Now, this was in 2011. We're now in 2025. We have not finished what we started in 2011. But mark you, those of us who are being condemned, we said we're going to build, and we built and commissioned in 5 years. It has taken them more than 15 years to rehabilitate, and they still say that they're working, resources keep changing. So those are issues which, seriousness. And every day we talk about people dying, but they're dying in these facilities. Some of these facilities are so scary that you ask yourself, what are we doing? Now, the whole issue ties together. We've had the issue of bridges. You had the issue of Karuma, you have Sezibwa, you have Katonga. These were bridges which were built with a 50-year lifespan. Now, somebody will fall asleep when they're supposed to rehabilitate or do the maintenance work until they're almost falling apart. So we had a crisis in Karuma closing, we have a crisis of Katonga, Sezibwa, because of now some of these big trucks, and there are many bridges which were built in that same period. So when you talk about, well, what does UPC have on that issue, our record is there. These bridges which are collapsing today, most of them were built in that period. I can tell you Karuma was done in 63 after independence. So UPC is tied to the success of Uganda. There are many things which people don't realize of where the effort was, but I hope in this campaign we're going to highlight, and we're also going to be able to put things which are practical of what can be done in a 5-year period. And that's why these arguments of saying since 1986, I want in this campaign to break it down, because there are so many things since 1986 where we have failed, where things have gone berserk. One of the key elements is this issue of elections. People went to the bush on the question of elections, but when you look at their own internal elections, you start wondering, can you give what you don't have? If you're not able to manage yourself, can you manage the rest of us? Have you been able to deliver this democracy which we've been seeking, this democracy which has eluded us for all this period? So those are questions which will have to be asked and will have to be answered.
All right. Of the planned revival of UPC, I don't know. I can see the way you are.
We really have no worry. We are actually very happy and comfortable that we have people I could term as competent competitors who will give credibility to our win at the end of the day. Because when you wrestle with somebody who's weak, they say, after all, what did you expect? But when James is wrestling with James here, they say, hey, these are men really. They have wrestled and whoever throws down the other, they say, but the man really is comfortably strong. So we have no worry. We have always had issues. What we are interested in is issue-based discussion, issue-based competition. And from the very onset, I said, we don't demean any of the achievements that were made between 1965 and subsequently 1971.
Well, going by the talk of your chairman, it creates an impression that those governments did nothing completely.
Our chairman has never said so.
Oh.
I don't want you to say that, because that's not his word. He has already said, yes, during Obote 1, we did this, but we disagreed with Obote, especially after the takeover of Amin. That's why they had the disagreement. And that one, I think he can attest to it, and every other person can say, yes, he has already said that. But away from that, let's look at the realities of the situation. It is true these roads were made and they have a lifespan. But it's also true that a number of these roads which are made have undergone repair because of their lifespan period. You talk of the roads that have been repaired and even extended and even expanded. Talk of the road from Kampala, Masaka, Mbarara, up to Kabale. Take of the road from Mbarara, Ishaka, Katunguru, Fort Potro, you proceed. Some of these have not been fully repaired, by the way. And even some of those who are repaired 15, 20 years ago, they have already gone bad. Talk of the road, for example, from Gayaza, proceed to Karaji, proceed to Kayunga. That road was made during Obote times, and it was well made. It didn't have a lot of traffic like it has today, and it has to undergo repair. Actually, this is second repair. Talk of the road from Mukono to Karaji. It had to undergo repair. Talk of the road from Yinja, Iganga, Mbale, the other one of Maraba. We have even added on this other one that goes to Busia. All those roads have been there. And also the expansion, extension of the road in terms of kilometers. It is not wrong for a government to build or expand or add on what the previous government has done. It is not wrong at all. I think we are going in the right direction. Because if we had said no, these roads that Obote government built, we should abandon them and put to the other side. That is why the president has now and issued the directive. He said, look, you have put attention, because he has technocrats. Said, you technocrats, you have put attention on the construction of new roads. But you have forgotten that the old roads need repairs, need maintenance. That's why he pushed it again to Parliament. And I'm happy the Honorable Jimmy Akena is saying, yes, we have been looking at this and we're insisting it should be done. That means when the Honorable Jimmy Akena says that, it doesn't change the fact that he's the leader of UPC, the opposing party. It means
Is he in the opposing party?
It means that given the opportunity...
I thought at the moment he's in government.
Not at all. He's the UPC leader. He's in the UPC government, which is in waiting. And we can say that without fear of favor. And he's here to say it himself. So when a leader of the other party says, yes, I may agree with you on the principle that we need roads, but I'm saying they should be done in this mode. Or I can do it better, given that opportunity. We shall say yes, but in the meantime, let's show you how it is done and how best it could be done.
All right.
There has never been a road to Moroto. If you now go on a road to Moroto, you can even go through Burambuli, go uphill to Nakapirpirit, go and move down to Moroto. So some of these roads, and even those that are in plan, are supposed to be made. The only challenge, I should say, is actually on the biggest challenge of compensation. And there are some elements that can show you that this is a big challenge. Go to Kawempe. Kawempe, near the Kawempe hospital, as you slope down, that connection that goes to connect the road that comes through up to the main Kawempe road there, it is a big challenge. A small patch that remained has never been done because of the issue of compensation. Go to, when you're coming from Buwate, as you come from Buwate to come to the junction around, what is this place now? this junction that goes to, as you go towards Toto, on that other road that comes from these people who dance,
Chira.
who dance, and that road that crosses there, they call them what?
Ndere.
Yes. My brother Jimmy knows the place. From Ndere, that road that crosses, there is a point where that
Chanja,
junction
where you
is.
cross.
Chanja, where you cross.
There's a
There is a
section.
small stretch where you find the road was never made. Very small, about it
30
may not even
meters.
make, yes.
About 30 meters.
Just because of compensation. There are many other areas. Me, I'm lucky I live in Barara, where we all sat as LC and agreed. There is a road that goes to the beer factory there. They said, we are going to leave this road. We said, you can't leave it because of compensation. We as neighbors who have land, we have given it, please do the road because of the beneficiaries. So there are some challenges that we cannot avoid because of what we call over-civilization for that matter. Because I don't think at that time there was a lot of business with compensation.
All
I don't
right,
know, I was not there.
we need to go for a
but
break
we
now.
need to look at it
All right.
from the background of it.
Thank you so much. Stay tuned, Radio 1 FM 90. Keep your comments coming. But let's go for a break.